Hello, hello, hello. Some of you may be shocked a little bit. Where's Isabel? I've been waiting to say this for a long time, but I have decided to make the announcement that I will today be transitioning in to Isabel Brown, as I can do that without changing any of my physical appearances or anything about myself. But now I will henceforth be known as Isabel Brown. Just kidding. Hi, my name is Jobob. I'm filling in today for Isabel, who is away in a much nicer place than I am. I am in the dingy bunker, if you're familiar with any of the content that comes out of this particular area. But we are talking today about some stuff that I feel like needs to be talked about among conservatives, but I don't even... if you know my act at all, you know I don't like terminology or terms that used to categorize people into various things. But for lack of a better terminology, or take two. For lack of a better word, conservatives / Republicans, things that they all need to know. We'll be talking about that, breaking down in detail the debate between the governor of California and the governor of Florida, which some of you may have watched. The ratings don't lead me to believe that a lot of people watched it, but who knows? I don't know. But first, before we do that, let's check out some of the people in the comment section. Already stoked. Nicholas saying it confirms it that Trump is going to run with Ramaswamy. I'm not sure if that's confirmed necessarily, but that's the opinion there. I get it. If Newsom is waiting in the wings, it says Frostfang 7. If Biden gets severely ill between now and then, or if he just decides, hey, I can't win. That's also, I think, a factor of Joe Biden not running. Frostfang also asked, would Newsom do better than Biden against Trump? I don't know. I would say yes, 100%. I think Gavin Newsom is, well, the reason I think Gavin Newsom, we can talk about this more in depth in a little bit, but the reason I think Gavin Newsom would do better than Joe Biden against Donald Trump would be because Gavin Newsom can do this crazy thing called form a coherent, cogent sentence, which is somewhat difficult for the commander-in-chief of the United States of America at the moment. But yeah, a lot of people already diving in the comment section. Obadiah says, wow, Isabel's mustache or looks masculine. LOL. How dare you attribute those attributes to me? A feminine version, a feminine brown male version of Isabel Brown today. Oh man. Also some negative. What a letdown. I'm sorry to be a letdown, but I do think we're gonna have a fun conversation. I've got a guy coming on who I know very, very well, and is very good at commentating on things and has a very good grasp and understanding, but doesn't necessarily do this all that often to discuss this. But yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get to that, let me tell you about Public Square, because I feel like, okay, I have a hilarious Public Square story. Not really all that hilarious. But last year, literally about this time, I'm coming home from Mar-a-Lago. I'm on the plane, and the person that sits next to me is wearing a Public Square t-shirt. I'm like, hey, this is cool. What's up? I like Public Square. At the time, it was still a big deal, but it wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. We got to talking. Turns out she was, I forget her specific title. Forgive me. Like the vice president of all of the things, and started telling me all of the stuff that Public Square is going to do. Now, this is a year ago on a plane back home from Mar-a-Lago. Since then, all of the things that Public Square has promised it would do, they have now done, or at least started to do, or working in the way of that process. Public Square has 70,000 small businesses that are all pro-life, pro-family, pro-freedom. And you can check them out, especially for the holidays. PublicSquare.com. You can download the app. They are now going to be a competitor with Amazon, and there are new updates, but I'm sure you all know a lot about that. You can add your small business to their roster, and overall, check them out. If you don't know Public Square already, first things first, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock for the last, several months? And two, You should check it out. But with that, I think it is now time to get into the meat of what I would like to talk about today, and what I think a lot of people are talking about today, and probably a take that, well, I don't know that you haven't heard anywhere else, but I would imagine a lot of the mainstream isn't looking at this the same way. Well, first of all, let me know in the comment section who was watching this last night. Wow, some people in the comment section getting really okay. Here's a quick aside tangent. People in the comment section. I've noticed this on my streams. I've noticed this on Isabel's streams. But there's times where people have completely non-related conversations with each other in the comment section. I'm seeing that somewhat happen now. But it's interesting. People talking about the Trump BLM shout out, which is fascinating. Also, some Canadians here weighing in. So appreciate all of it, but also know that I'm not as good at reading comments live as we go through while maintaining a single stream of thought as Isabel is. So bear with me as I try to do that in somewhat similar fashion, obviously lacking several. Jurymeister says, I didn't watch, but from the clips, I saw that Newsom got cooked. That is one of the things that I would like to talk about. From a policy standpoint, it is very, very difficult, almost impossible, some might say, to make the argument that Florida is in worse shape than California. And that was what yesterday's debate was all about. Sean Hannity hosted the debate yesterday on Fox News between Governor Gavin Newsom, the leader of California, and Governor Ron DeSantis, the leader of the state of Florida. Excuse me. The problem is that policy, unfortunately, is not the only thing that matters in these sorts of debates / engagements. Wow, some people in the comment section didn't watch, don't care, which is what I think a lot of people. I don't have the specific ratings in front of me, but I would imagine the finale of The Golden Bachelor just trounced this. Personally, I was watching Thursday Night Football, watching the Seahawks not be able to pull it off. But anyways, I digress. The problem with these debates, and the problem with just debates in general, or just, zoom out to the entirety of politics, is that you have policy and then you have perception. One is very important. Policy that is inflicted upon the populace, policy that is governing the body in which we live, policy that has an effect on everyday life. And the other is, my guy looks cooler than your guy. And unfortunately, we live in a world where they're about equal in terms of how people view candidates and how people vote regarding elections. I would even dare to say, in some corners of the earth, the country, that perception outweighs the importance of actual policy. This is the problem I have, and if you're an everyday viewer of the Isabel Brown live stream and you've seen me on this before, you know that I have a huge problem with the format of the modern debates. I won't bury the lead here. My fix to all of this is get rid of the stinking moderators, get rid of the time limits. If you want to have Gavin Newsom debate Ron DeSantis, put 2 chairs at a table, put 2 microphones in front of those chairs, and put a camera and turn it on and go. That is how I think debates should be run. Because I think it kind of eliminates the perception thing. It takes away the acting that politicians have to do in order to, I don't know, come off as competent or presidential or like one of you and I. But I think that eliminates a lot of it. So we'll get into that eventually. But at the end of the day, this sort of stuff still happens. We still obviously have debates. And while I would love for conservatives / Republicans to move to a place where we just eliminate the structure in which debates are had, I would also like to be able to compete in the arena that currently exists, right? It doesn't make any sense for us to just go full blown in one direction without also fighting the battle that you have to fight the battle that you're in. And the battle that we're in currently is such that these formats exist and there's no way to navigate around it. Anyways, I'm seeing Duncan is now in the chat, so I'm going to add him in. My cousin Duncan lives in Montana and shares some opinions and does not share. Duncan, can you hear me? Can I hear you?
My mic's not working yet.
Oh, that's okay. All right. Well, okay. So in that, if you can get that figured out, that'd be great. But I want to play some of these clips from the Ron DeSantis debate. Now, some context. I'm in politics. I do this talk show thing like every day. My cousin Duncan lives in Montana, is not in politics, has a real job, where he has to put forth his intelligence, unlike myself, who just kind of sits here and banters about nonsense. And I am fascinated about how he sees things versus how I see things. I tend to be pretty fervently against the inaptitude in what am I trying to say? The inability for Republicans to come off as cool, whereas if I'm characterizing Duncan's point of view, I don't think he cares about all that stuff all that much. Anyways, let's get into some of these clips from this debate last night, this clown show that we call a debate. This is Gavin Newsom versus Ron DeSantis. Clip one, I think this is Gavin's opening clip that he opened with. We will discuss on the other side. Watch this.
And I want to answer that very directly. I'll tell you why I'm here. I'm here to tell the truth about the Biden-Harris record and also compare and contrast Ron DeSantis' record and the Republican Party's record as a point of contrast that's as different as daylight and darkness. You want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, America in reverse. You want to roll back hard-earned national rights on voting rights, on civil rights, on LGBTQ rights, on women's rights, not just access to abortion, but also access to contraception. You want to weaponize grievance. You are focusing on false separateness. You in particular, Ron, are on a banning binge, a cultural purge, intimidating and humiliating people you disagree with. You and President Trump are really trying to light democracy on fire. So, Sean, there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engage them. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Ooh, shots taken across the bow. Gavin Newsom lands a stick on Ron DeSantis, saying something that actually is just genuinely true. Ron DeSantis is not going to be the nominee for president for his party. That is going to be Donald Trump pretty easily, I think. But so here's my thoughts, and Duncan, I'd love to hear yours. From a policy standpoint, everything he said was wrong. Everything in the opening statement Gavin said was just flat out stinking wrong. But we talked about this earlier, Duncan, before you were on the stream, but I'd like to get your take on this. That unfortunately politics is policy, but it's also a lot perception. And in the same way that if you were in third grade and we had different groups in the class all giving presentations, and you have that one kid who is in a group who he's the know-it-all kid, like the nerdy kid who's just kind of, I know everything, and it's actually this and actually that, in the classroom. And the problem is he's right a lot of the times, or she's right. Girls can be the know-it-all kid too. They're right a lot of the times. The problem is they're just annoying, and nobody likes the way that they engage with things. That is the vibe that I get from Ron DeSantis here. So while Gavin is going on this is what we've done in California, look, the numbers and the statistics don't lie. Gavin has made California a mess in so many ways, but also the way that DeSantis just, I don't know, reacts to it is, I think, one of the bigger problems with Republicans overall. We just look not cool doing so. I don't know. I have a much bigger takeaway from that standpoint. I don't know. What are your thoughts on, like, how much does that matter to you, but also how much does that matter to the average voter?
Oh man, why did my thing cut out?
Oh, mic not working?
Sorry, man, my mic cut out or my speaker cut out like right at the end there.
Oh, okay. You can't hear me right now. All right, we're gonna move Duncan off the screen for just a quick second until we could get that sorted out. Give me a thumbs up when you get it. But I think I feel like I don't know. That's just what I think. I think that there is this, like, perception of conservatives that in so many ways, from a policy standpoint, they're just right. Like, there's really, it becomes inarguable when you look at the statistics from COVID, when you look at the statistics from education, when you look at the economic statistics between Florida and California, it becomes inarguable that Florida handled everything and continues to handle everything just better. The problem is, as you can probably tell, Gavin Newsom looks better doing it. For some reason, that's just how I see it. I want to play this next clip because I feel like it's an important thing to watch / take in. We'll play this clip and discuss on the other side another clip from the debate last night. Check this out.
That's very clear.
One at a time.
On a per capita age-adjusted basis, California and Florida basically the same. Now, why is that important? Because Gavin Newsom did huge damage to people in California. He ruined livelihoods. We reopened the state very quickly. We saved thousands of jobs. We saved hundreds of thousands of jobs, thousands of businesses. We had our kids in school. He had the kids locked out of school because of the teachers union. That is having a generational impact. California has one of the lowest literacy rates in the country. In the most recent NAEP exam, Florida came in number 3 for 4th grade reading. California was far, far behind. So you should apologize for not getting your kids in school. Why didn't you get the kids in school in the summer of 2020 like we did? You bowed to the teachers union. You didn't do the job you should have done.
All right.
So Ron does this thing. And again, I'm solely talking perception here because I feel like, again, inarguable when it comes to a policy standpoint. Ron does this thing that I feel like a lot of Republicans do out of respect, I guess, in which they address the person and their policies and then question the person and their policies to the camera, which I think is a very old way of doing things. Like, I kind of feel like in the 80s, in the 90s, when you were having debates that were televised, especially presidential debates, it was kind of your one and only opportunity to be able to talk directly to the American people. So you would say things like, my opponent over here says that this and that and the other thing, and this and that and this and that. I think in this new age of social media where you can have a camera, you have a camera in your pocket where you can literally talk to everybody that you want to talk to at any point, anytime. There is even organically developing this conversational kind of component to where how do I say this? The attitude of the candidate needs to change in terms of talking directly to the American people. If you watch this, again, my big gripe here is that DeSantis, from a policy standpoint, just mopped the floor with Gavin Newsom, absolutely pantsed him. Having said that, Gavin is walked in pantsed. Sorry, 1 second. Trying to figure out this microphone situation. But that being said, Ron doesn't have a conversation with him until the very end. Like, picture it this way. If DeSantis says, Gavin, you did this, and then you did this, and then that. And not in an angry tone, but just kind of like hey man, what were you thinking when this happened? Not to the camera, but to him specifically, because he's standing right there, rather than pontificating that, I don't know, he isn't in the room. keep that picture in mind and then watch this next clip, because Gavin does the exact thing that I want Ron DeSantis to do immediately. Goes directly to him and says, you did this. Now, again, I keep having to put this qualifier in, this disclaimer. He's wrong and is just flat out lying about it. And he knows that he's lying about it. So watch this and we'll discuss.
You've been on a banning bench. 1,406 books have been banned just last year under Ron DeSantis' leadership. I love that he keeps pulling this out. I've seen this. He's been doing this all over the campaign trail. What's wrong with Toni Morrison's books?
It's not banned.
What's wrong? It's not true.
Not.
What's wrong with Amanda Gorman's?
It's not banned.
And the poetry.
Not banned. Those are false
1,406.
narratives.
1,406 books
False narratives.
have been banned on your banning bench in the state of Florida. As it relates to parental rights, come on, California, it's in our Constitution, parental engagement. It's called the LCFF process. We actually require parental engagement on curriculum development, and we don't. Complete lie. We don't require K through third grade sexual education. That doesn't happen until middle school. What you're doing is using education as a sword for your cultural purge.
Yeah. Couple things. First thing being, do you see how it works in that direction where he's like, he does, you did this, you did that. And it just feels more effective because policy and perception are equal. And Ron DeSantis has nothing to worry about from a policy standpoint. From a policy standpoint, everything has been fine. Not everything has been fine. Obviously, there's problems. But from a policy standpoint, he's got Gavin just on the ropes. But from a perception standpoint, we just saw two back-to-back. DeSantis says, Gavin Newsom is saying this and this and this and this, and Gavin Newsom's Florida talking to the camera. And Gavin goes, Ron, you did this, you did this, you did this. Why did you do that? And again, the qualifier is that he's wrong about it and he's lying about it. But the problem is that it feels more organic when Gavin's doing it. I freaking can't stand Gavin Newsom, but it just feels better with him doing that. Now, I feel like I think Duncan is back in action. We're gonna try this out because I would love to get some other perspectives here. And I'm reading the comment sections too. Let's see, Duncan, how test your mic? Is it working?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it sounds like a room, but that's fine. I don't know. So I guess initial thoughts or just any thoughts that you might have on this. Let me know. I don't know. What do you think? I think I've been belaboring the point that perception matters a lot. And I don't think DeSantis came off. I don't think he got a bump. And I think Gavin Newsom did get a PR bump out of this. I don't know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? A bunch of people in the comment section just hate Gavin. So I don't know. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I left the state that I used to live in because of him, so I don't like him either. But he definitely sounds a lot more, but he does sound way more polished than Ron DeSantis does. He has that slick politician thing down, and Ron DeSantis doesn't.
And how much does that matter, though?
Unfortunately, I think it matters a lot.
Yeah. So then how do you fix it? Because my problem is that conservatives
I don't think Ron DeSantis is terrible though. I just don't think he's like an all-star. He's not amazing at it, and unfortunately, I think you have to be amazing at it now. I don't think you had to be amazing at it 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I disagree. I kind of think Barack Obama was amazing at it. That's why he won in 2008 and then again in 2012. Like he is the most chillaxed, cool politician I think the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
Policy aside.
He was special.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you just have to be a one-off.
So
man, him and Donald Trump's obviously as good as it gets at that too. So
okay, so yeah, that was I was gonna ask who is like the perception meets policy person, I guess. Actually, no, forget about it. Let's screw the policy side. Outside of like Obama and Trump, is there anybody that you're kind of like, oh, this person seems relatable and normal and not like a Poindexter know-it-all third grader grown up to be running for president? Is there anybody?
I don't think there's anyone else. There's no one else that comes to mind that's been as relatable and everyman as those two.
Which is crazy to think about. Somehow the billionaire from Manhattan, who should be the most unrelatable person in the world, managed to relate to the, I don't know, Idaho farmers or blue collar workers in Virginia or West Virginia more than blue collar workers in West Virginia, which blows my mind. I guess from like a policy standpoint, I don't know if you were able to hear any of those clips, or were you able to hear those clips?
Yeah, pieces.
So from a policy standpoint, I don't know, anything that stands out that like that Republicans or conservatives should be hammering more on, because I kind of I don't know. I get this feeling that there is kind of like a smattering of things of like, we're going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, and all of that stuff is valid and accurate, but I don't know that voters and people paying attention can handle 15 different in-depth topics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think policy-wise, I mean, DeSantis easily won that because he had all the facts on his side. He had, printouts. He was showing people the map. He was, he had that in his head. He clearly prepped a lot for it. So he won the policy side of the debate. Newsom definitely won the appearance side of the debate.
How do we fix that? There's several comments like flying through. I'm trying to stop the actual thing to be able to read some. Alex says DeSantis hasn't been good on the debate stage, in my opinion. I would have to agree. Somebody, when is it? Before the second Republican primary debate, somebody told him, hey, you have to smile 100% of the time. And he just
man, he has that grimace thing that he does sometimes. He kind of goes, it doesn't look good.
I feel like I asked something and then I forgot what I asked.
Like when Newsom was saying all those things, he was going, not true, and he just looks like he's in pain, and it's like,
okay, so here's how I feel like conservatives / Republicans need to solve the problem. Like if you're sitting at, let's just say, a brewery, because spoiler alert, Duncan likes breweries. You're sitting at a brewery and one of your friends says something, not even take politics out of it, but says something so absurd that you just can't believe it. How do you react? Like if we're sitting across the table and I say, well, I just picked up my invisible car. It's invisible, and for another extra $15 a month, it can also fly. If I said that in serious tones, like, how would you react? I know how I would react.
I wouldn't smile. I mean, well, you make like a confused look, I guess, would be the reaction a normal person would make.
Yes. What you wouldn't do is go, not true. You would go, what are you talking about, dude?
He's not always like that either. He's not always as stilted and robotic. I don't know. I heard some people comparing the debate to the whole like Nixon versus Kennedy debate, where the people, which who knows if that's true or not, but people think Kennedy won who watched on TV, and people think Nixon won who listened on the radio.
That is true. I think that is
true.
I
think if you're just listening to the words, I think DeSantis easily wins. And if you're watching it, then maybe you think Newsom won.
I don't know. I even think listening nowadays, like even if you're listening, because people are much more used to taking in just audio content. I think if you're listening nowadays, even then, you kind of think, like DeSantis came off as weird. It was also, well, I want to talk about Hannity moderating it in a little bit, but I got another clip to play that we can kind of discuss after that. But even in print, I think I think a middle of the road voter goes, oh yeah, DeSantis has this in the bag. But even in the audio components, just like, I just feel like there's too much. No, I don't think so. No, there's too much nerd at school that knows everything in how it's being communicated. And I don't know how Republicans like solve that problem. Oh, dumb. In the comment section, Kiki says, Reagan, hello? Question mark. Which is a good point. Do you have any thoughts before I play this last clip of Gavin going on his book ban rant?
No, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Here's this.
President of the United States put a $14 billion package in front of Congress they can act on today.
And what would that?
They haven't done anything
in
2 years.
Do?
This Congress,
what do you
literally
support?
not a single piece
you support
of
border wall?
legislation. I support the $14 billion package president's put forward. That includes 2,300 border agents and customs officials. By the way, also includes $850 million in new technology for border security. You hear nothing from Ron DeSantis. You hear nothing, Sean, respectfully. You hear nothing from the Republican Party. They play politics.
I'm almost out of time.
Put the plan up to address
Does it worry?
Let me
ask
security.
the question another way. Does it worry you that our top geopolitical foes, the number one state sponsor of terror, Iran, China, Russia, Afghanistan, Syria, that they're at our southern border? You're a border state governor. Does that concern you at all?
Why else would I have put the answer is yes. Why else would I put the National Guard? Why would I have just increased it by 50% on the largest port in the Western Hemisphere in my state? I mean, this guy has no record. The fact that.
All right, we don't need to continue that part. But so there's so many things that I feel like you can hit on. First, just from that clip alone, and this was kind of happening all day, but it felt like Gavin got a leg up because even though he was wrong about policy, he was debating two people. He was debating Ron DeSantis and also Sean Hannity.
Right, which is how it is always when the Republicans are debating amongst, in any other debate where it's just the Republicans, then they're just debating the moderators the whole time. This is like the first time it's actually happened to the Democrat.
That's a good point. Okay. Can you flesh that out a little bit?
It does turn Newsom into like a sympathetic character kind of, and feel like he's like the underdog.
No, I feel like you make a good point of that. For me, it was weird with Sean Hannity.
It is weird. It's the first time it's ever happened.
Well, but now that I'm thinking about it, that's why it was weird. It was weird, not necessarily because, I'd never seen. I'm having an aha moment, but I had never seen a debate which questions are asked from the conservative point of view, and that the people on the stage have to argue with the conservative point being the moderator. I was watching it and was just kind of getting irritated. It was like, all right, this looks like they're just ganging up on him, and I feel like Gavin gets the sympathy vote. But now that you mention it, that's literally how all of the other debates are.
Yes. Every other debate I've ever watched, every question is asked from the liberal point of view.
It's funny because I've gone on tirades about that on this live stream before. Last time I was talking to Isabel, it was literally like, why do Republicans allow the lefty media to ask questions from a lefty point of view? And yeah, that's a solid point of like, yeah, this is just the same thing that's happening now on the other side. Mike in the comment section, remembering Trump v. Chris Wallace. Yeah, that's so weird. I took it as it was weird. It was weird to me seeing Hannity also debating Gavin. But yeah, if you think about it, that's what they do on the other side. If Well, not even on the side. They do it on the Republican debate stage. You have MSNBC hosts hosting, not MSNBC, but NSNBC hosts, Kristen Welker and what's his face?
You have Fox News hosts doing it. The Fox News hosts ask Republicans like questions from a liberal point of view, even though you know that that's not even their opinion. Like, it's so bizarre.
Why do they do that? Like, why does that happen?
I don't know, but even when like Brett Baer was hosting, it's like every question is like, what are you gonna do? Like, why don't you want to let, like, I don't know. It's like, why wouldn't you want to let like underprivileged people into the country over the border? Like, that debate's already settled on the Republican side. Why are you asking that question from that point of view?
It should be framed more as like, how are you going to stop illegal immigration?
Exactly.
As opposed to what was the question that was categorized on the radio show that we both listened to of it was climate change. Like at the Republican primary, they had some kid ask, climate change is going to affect the yada 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 yada. How do you plan on stopping it, or something like that? And they characterize it as the kid saying, I'm going to die in 2 weeks if you don't do something about climate change. And then the moderator said, all right, show of hands, who wants to kill the kid? And they're like, what are we doing? Because that is not high on the totem pole of priorities for Republican politicians to solve climate change.
Exactly.
What do you think about this format stuff? Actually, well, we could get back to this other kind of style debating, but the format of moderator and debaters, like as a person who does podcasts, I'm talking about myself and such, I would love to just see them go sit at a table and just talk. And if you're going to have a moderator, the moderator just changes the topic and says, all right, immigration. Doesn't ask a question, just says immigration / illegal immigration, go. Does that feel like that's a better solution, or I poke holes in my theory here if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think politics is so combative that wouldn't work. You just have them talking over each other the whole time, or it would just devolve, because that's just how politicians act now. I think what makes sense is a moderator that like asks the question and then that's it. They like take a back seat, and then it's just only that the person who was asked the question gets to talk. The other person's mic is off because we don't need them butting in. And just I guess it makes it more boring, but
yeah, but I'm looking at it as, I think with a moderator and just kind of the questions being lobbed at the people, you don't have a discussion about what is better and what isn't. And you can say like, whoa. You like, as like person to person, interpersonally, without having to go through the moderators. Like, can you tell him to stop talking or whatever? Like when Gavin brings up, and maybe this is a good segue to this whole thing. Gavin brings up the book banning thing of like, well, you're banning this book and you're doing this and banning books and all that sort of nonsense. And then goes and uses like terminology of, well, it's not required reading in third grade, elementary school and third grade. And whereas like, dude, but DeSantis in the moment could say, but that's not what we're talking about. Instead, he has to wait and then jot down in his head all of the list of dumb things Gavin said and then approach them individually. Right? Like, I don't know, in a conversational format, can Gavin get away with saying that stuff as coherently as he does?
I mean, you can try and pin him down on it, but he's never going to admit that it's happening.
Well, I mean, he admitted it's happening by saying it's not required, right? Because that's not what we're talking about. Like, he's saying, well, it's not required reading. It's like, yeah, but you're allowing it. That's the problem. The fact that you're allowing it is the reason that we're all upset. Not, yeah, of course, you're not going to, from a state level, mandate the required sexualization of education, especially in California, where you do have interestingly enough, more registered Republicans than any other state, but that's a population issue than anything else. So I think he's admitting it's happening by saying, well, it's not required, right? Because that's not why we're mad. We're mad because it's allowed.
I don't know. Good luck ever getting him pinned down on anything. Gavin's slippery. I think even in your conversational format, I don't think you're ever going to get him to admit. And even if he does, he just, he always parries and just says, "Oh, we're working on it," or we'll solve that, and that's a problem we have to work on, and like then just moves on. Like, I don't know. They're politicians, man. They're not going to have a Joe Rogan type.
I was going to say though. So zoom out, right? Zoom out past Gavin and past Ron DeSantis. Then how? And I may be asking the wrong person. I have my own theory of how this works. How then do you get conservatives to be able to have their ideas be put forth without looking like stuck up Poindexter nerds, and also without looking just mean, right? Because I feel like Trump does a pretty good job at not at being a normal person in terms of relating to the everyday voter, but also he comes
across as a normal person. I don't think anybody would accuse Trump of not being mean, though. Like, everyone thinks he's mean.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you do it without that? Right? Because
I don't know.
Going back to like the conversation that you're having in a brewery or at a bar or at a restaurant, if somebody says something stupid and you just look at them and go like, "What are you talking about?" I think that helps a lot. And I don't know why Republicans haven't figured that out, as to just like ask a question back to their statement in such a way that acknowledges something that everybody already knows. What they said was absurd, and I'm not going to. You should obviously respond with, the facts and analysis that you've done, but also treat the thing that Gavin said as if it is as absurd as it actually is. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like it's not a difficult change to make.
Yeah, I think as the boomers transition out of every single position in our government, I think maybe you start getting new people in who have like a more personal touch, who didn't go to like the old school, this is how you talk in a debate, like, or maybe they didn't go to the same consultants and have them, like, oh, you talk in this way, and maybe just fresh blood might fix it. We'll see.
What about well, I have thoughts, and I've expressed those thoughts feverishly here. But from a perception component, taking the politics out of it, like a Vivek type guy who kind of like...
He's the youngest person in, he's the youngest Republican candidate, and he's by far, well, that was on that, yeah. So he's by far the best that's on the Republican debate stage at that.
See, that's the problem, is the politics side of it is like, all right, dude, you said one thing one day, and then the next day you said the exact opposite of that thing. How do you blend? I don't know. Maybe I'm talking myself in circles, but I don't know how you blend the policy and perception in a way that makes sense to get people with good ideas elected.
Yeah, I think the problem is anyone who's super talented at that is just gonna want to make a living as like an actual like pundit on the news instead of an actual politician.
All right, transitioning, I guess, away from the debate, and we've only got a couple minutes left here. But any other? So the context here is that Duncan lived in California. He no longer lives in California. I'm curious, just on a personal level, anything that you've noticed that is at least observably different. Obviously not your crazy stuff like our kids aren't learning nonsense in school, but I've heard you talk about some of the infrastructure stuff there that is fascinating as a juxtaposition between Montana and California. Anything like that that you've got that might be an interesting nugget to throw in to people who are possibly considering leaving the great state of California, as so many have already done?
Yeah, I mean, there's fewer people. I don't really have to do with politics. Having fewer people is nice. Well, I can walk down the street and not see people passed out on the side of the road from
Okay.
heroin. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, that's great. Can you talk about? We were talking the other day. You were talking about construction, road construction.
Oh
And
yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because I think that's fascinating and something that a lot of people in the southern part of the country, not the South, but just down lower, don't have any concept of.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Like when I first moved here, there was road construction going on a lot of roads around town, and now I can drive by and it's done. And I feel like never in my life.
No. Road construction takes at least 20 years. It's not done yet. I mean, those of us in California, the freeways that I grew up driving
done.
are
The construction, the machines are out of the way, all the stuff is moved, the cones are gone, and it's like done. And they did it in like a month or two. And it's just so wild to be able to see road construction finished.
So there's people watching from everywhere, and I'm assuming that depending on the state that you live in, you are either not impressed by that statement at all, of just like, yeah, what do you? Of course it's done. Like they set out to do a thing and they finished the thing, or you are from a state like I am, where you look at that statement just in astonishment of like, what do you mean it's
in
done?
California, there were roads worked on where it's my entire life. Like I'm over 30, and I remember, there's certain areas of the freeway where it's the same part of the freeway, and it's been under construction for decades.
Well, from where you grew up and where I grew up, there was the 5760, which I don't think either one of us would take anymore to get to each. Well, you don't live here anymore. But if we were going to each other's house, we wouldn't take any more. But at the time, there was this carpool lane bridge construction. Do you remember this?
I didn't live in the IE.
No, I know. But when you guys would come over, there was the 60 freeway and the 57 freeway interchange. And there was this bridge that they were trying to get that where the 57 cars in the carpool lane could get directly onto the 57.
Right.
I kid you not. From the time I remember, when my memory kicked online, when we would drive to either your house or the beach or to Orange County in general, my dad would complain about they have been working on this it started off a couple of years already. Then they've been working on this for 5 years. Then they've been working on this for 10 years. They've been working on this for 20 years. And I kid you not, it was only 3 years ago that I actually got to use that bridge, having remembered it being under construction since my memory came online.
Hey man,
and it's not like it's like 300 yards. It's not a big stretch of it's not miles. It's like a half mile maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here it's like you'll drive by and there'll be miles and miles and miles of freeway blocked off because they're like paving it, and then you'll drive by it the next week and they've refurbished 50 miles of the freeway, 25 to 50 miles of the freeway, and they did it in like a couple weeks, and it's mind-blowing. They're able to just get it done.
There's a comment section in here from Brooks. It says North Carolina does construction at night, 9 to 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., and are usually done between a week and a month, depending on the job. Oh, dang it. He Brooks. I think you're a he, but I'm sorry if you're not. Brooks, we'll just call it Brooks. Says they said where they are, but could you have guessed a red state or a blue state with just that commentary? I think probably.
Yeah.
How you doing with the cold?
It's not.
That is the one thing. This is, sorry, not to go back into Gavin Newsom and freaking California and DeSantis and the debate and all that sort of crap, but the fact that California lost population for the first time in its history under the governorship of Gavin Newsom. Why? Because California is awesome. Outside of the way that it's run, California is the best.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It's the best state. It's one of the best places in the world geographically. I mean, you have such diversity between mountains, ocean, amazing weather. Yeah, it's awesome. All those national parks. There's so much to do. It's fantastic.
So with that,
you have to be really, really, really bad at running your state to get someone to actually leave that place.
Yes, which you did, and because you grew up with the weather, how is Montana, the beginning of Montana winter, treating you?
It's fine. You put on a jacket. I don't know. It's really not that big of a deal. They plow roads. I mean, it's not like you're just on your own.
Huh. Fascinating. Well, hey,
you have heat inside. You can go inside if you get cold.
I'm curious to check back in 6 months after the winter's done and see how that played out for you.
Yeah.
Okay. But hey, appreciate you coming to chat politics. See that's the thing, is this isn't politics. There's no policy discussion here. Like it's just who's playing the sport of running for president better, Gavin or Ron DeSantis? And unfortunately, I think it's Gavin. And in a lot of times, I think it's lefties because they're better at shouting all of the things that you're supposed to shout from the highest of mountains, even though they're wrong. It's just better at it. And so I don't know. All that's to say is appreciate you coming on and mostly listening to my jabbering, but also providing some detailed analysis on that. Any last thoughts on anything?
I think you might be being a little too hard on the Republicans.
They suck. They literally suck at it. They're so freaking bad at making their case.
Great at it either.
What?
The other side's not great at it either.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
if Gavin Newsom's the best that they can offer up, like, can you name any other, stellar Democratic politicians besides him? I mean, he's not even that amazing.
Yes.
His state is in shambles. I mean, like, what?
I get that, but I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, because politics is marketing.
He's good. I mean, he's like a slick politician, but like he comes across as, I don't know, greasy and meh.
Well,
it's
okay,
not like
so
he's amazing at it.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that conservatives or Republicans, from a policy and an idea standpoint, start with in a 100-meter dash. Just from a policy standpoint, they start with a 70-yard lead. 70-meter lead. I don't know why you would have a 70-yard lead in a 100-meter dash, but they start with a 70-meter lead and still somehow end up being neck and neck at the end. And so
I mean, I think you're giving the Democrats too much credit when I think a lot of their success can just easily be attributed to their complete media and cultural dominance. I mean,
but how do they get that is the thing, right? Because they don't have cultural and media dominance if they don't have that leg up, if they don't have that. And so, okay, so then the fight is there, I guess. How do they win that? You're right, by the way. But okay, so then it's a bigger zoomed out discussion than politics. It's all encompassing media and culture. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. So how are they so good at that?
What do you mean? Because they control it? I mean,
I don't know. I don't think I'm giving them too much credit. I think they're pretty good at convincing a lot of people about. There's somebody said this the other day, that Republicans constantly wonder if their ideas or the way that they're going to present their ideas good enough for the people to want to vote for it. Whereas Democrats don't care. They're just going to shove bad ideas down your throat until you like it. Not like it until it happens.
I think conservatives are getting better at wielding power when they finally have it. I think that'll change things.
Huh.
I think once conservative politicians realize that you actually have to do stuff once you get into office, like the reason Ron DeSantis is even on that debate stage is because he wielded power effectively in Florida. And
any predictions on how power might be wielded? Because I feel like a lot of people that's going to scare a lot of people. But I don't know, when conservatives take back the federal government, how do you think they'll effectively wield power to garner the support of people to get reelected?
I can't answer that for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if a Republican gets into office and, does the things that he says he's going to do,
or she
closes the border,
so just does the job they promised they're going to do. That's how you effectively wield power. All right. That makes sense. Well, cool. I don't know. Any other, there's no time limit on here. We're, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I also have to pee a little bit, but I don't know. Any other thing that you think is interesting that would be worth noting at the tail end of this thing?
Geez, nothing that wouldn't open up just like a can of worms that would.
I'm not opposed to opening up worm cans.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think the debate is the most interesting news story to talk about.
What is?
I think what's happening in Israel is way more interesting than what happened on the debate stage last night.
Do you want to talk Israel? We can. There are no rules.
I don't know, man. That's really heavy.
Yeah.
How's being a father?
Good.
We both have young children.
Young is an understatement. Like months young. Is yours a month yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 weeks.
Got it. Cool. How's the sleep?
Getting better.
Good.
Not amazing. I think I slept for like 7 hours last night though, so that's fantastic.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I think we are just getting there, and ours is 3 months older than yours.
Yeah. I think last night was probably the best sleep I've had since.
Nice.
Woke up only once.
Wow. That's exciting.
Very excited about that.
Well, we're doing this again on Monday. If there's interesting developments over in Israel, and I don't know, you have any inclination to come and talk about it, maybe that can be the topic of discussion then, as opposed to just badgering Republicans for being bad at being charismatic, bad at charisma. So anyways, well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it then. We'll this is thanks for coming. Appreciate you sticking around, chatting.
Of course.
Let me know. Yeah, we'll do it again. I also have my own thing that we can also do this stuff on. Now that you're in a different state, you can't come to the big, expansive new studio that we just finished. But
your basement?
No, the other studio is now very cool.
But your garage?
So, oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. But anyways, maybe when you're here sometime. Appreciate you people in the comment section. Franklin says, "Hey, thanks for the stream, Jobob and Duncan." Wow, he remembered your name. I don't think I said your name except for at the very beginning.
Yeah,
Franklin,
really impressive.
Appreciate it, brother. Also, all of the other people in the comment section. sometimes it's funny because there's sections where the comment section kind of, is stagnant and it kind of just sits there for a little bit, and then it just zoom, and then it kind of sits for a little bit and then zooms again. But anyways, all right, I'm gonna boot you off and wrap up here. But appreciate you taking the time coming on to maybe we'll discuss more interesting things in depth at another time.
Yeah, sure.
But adios.
See ya.
Appreciate all you sticking around, tuning in. Again, thanks to Public Square. Thanks to Isabel for probably making the mistake of trusting me with being able to host this live stream. But nevertheless, she does. So appreciate that. Let's see. Anything? I think I'll be back here Monday. So maybe that's good news. Maybe that's bad news. Maybe that is a reminder for you to tune in again on Monday, or it's a warning to avoid on Monday at all costs. But appreciate you sticking around, tuning in on the stream. If you haven't already, you can go ahead and follow me on any of your social media accounts. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find me pretty much anywhere. We'll see you Monday, same time, same place. God bless America. Adios.